Sony's new speaker lineup isn't all that different from their previous lineup, but in order to better compete against JBL's lineup, Sony refined and toughened up their new XB21, XB31, and XB41. Here are the main improvements on Sony's new speaker lineup as a whole, and I'm going to break down the main differences between these three speakers so you can decide which one's right for you. The ultra-portable Sony XB21 is the smallest and most affordable speaker here, retailing for $99.99. The XB31 is the middle child of this lineup and currently retails for $149.99. And both the XB21 and XB31 come in four colorways: black, blue, red, or white. The Sony XB41 is the big daddy of the group and currently retails for $249.99, but only comes in three colorways: red, blue, or black. If you want to pick either of these speakers up, I'll have a link in the description below, and if you use the link, it really helps out the channel. Check them out because Sony speakers routinely go on sale, so you might get lucky. First, let's go over the general improvements found on Sony's new speaker lineup. First up is the design, which I really like. Gone is the soft touch rubber body industrial exposed speaker design of the previous lineup, and now the new lineup is much sleeker and is covered in a fabric mesh very similar to JBL speakers. The fabric mesh body of these speakers is much more durable than the previous soft touch rubber bodies. The XB31 and XB41 are also rocking much better looking light features than the ones found on the XB30 and XB40. Without a doubt, I feel the XB31 and XB41 look much better than their older counterparts, but I don't think the smaller XB21 looks better than the XB20. The new design also brings with it a new simplified button layout. The buttons are raised and have great tactile feedback, but they can feel a little cramped at times. But after a while, you get used to the new layout. And in Sony fashion, you get full music playback controls straight from the speakers. You can adjust the volume, play or pause your music, skip a track, and go back a track. On the back, all three of these speakers have a compartment that houses their battery button, which if you press and hold, you can turn off the light feature, the WPC button, which stands for wireless party chain, and an add button for left and right stereo mode if you have two of the same speakers. And I'll go into that in a minute. All three of these speakers also have an aux jack, a micro USB port for charging, and the XB31 and XB41 both have a USB out so you can charge your own devices. And when it comes to the rubber grommet, it's rather easy to remove and I'm not too worried about it ripping off. But remember to close it properly because you don't want these ports to get wet. Another improvement found on Sony's new speaker lineup is how durable they are now. Sony's previous speaker lineup was only IPX5 rated, so a little splash of water here and there isn't going to be a problem, but I still wouldn't submerge them. And due to their exposed speaker design, dirt and sand can easily get trapped behind the metal grill. Sony's new lineup is now IP67 rated, so this means a few things. They're now dirt and dust proof thanks to the new fabric mesh that protects the speakers, and they are now waterproof so you can submerge them, and all three of these speakers also float. JBL speakers are also just as durable, but they don't have an official dirt and dust rating because of their exposed passive radiators. But I feel that if you took them to the beach, sand isn't really going to be a problem. Another improvement that I really like in Sony's new speaker lineup is the way you charge the XB31 and XB41. On the previous XB30 and XB40, you can only charge them with a 5V or 9.5V DC charger. So if you were going to take the XB30 or XB40 to a friend's house, you would have to bring the charging cable along. But now with the XB31, you can charge it with a micro USB cable. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with a wall adapter, so you're going to have to use your own. The Sony XB41 comes included with a 5V DC charger, but you can also charge it via the micro USB port. Personally, I exclusively charge the XB41 via the micro USB port with my DJI Sparks charging cable, and I love the convenience of not having to use the DC charger. It's one less thing cluttering my power strip, and the XB21, just like the older XB20, also charges via a micro USB port. When it comes to battery life, the XB21 advertises a battery life of 12 hours and both the XB31 and XB41 advertise a battery life of 24 hours, but that's when they're used at lower volumes and with the light features turned off. In my testing with the light feature turned on and with the volume set at 80%, which I feel is closer to real world use, the XB21 averaged 6 hours, the XB31 averaged 9 hours, and the XB41 lasted all the way up to 12 hours. But this wasn't until their batteries died. It was until the speakers hit 20% battery, because at that point the speakers will interrupt the music, say please charge, and they'll only play at a max volume of 50%, so you have no other option than to put them back on the charger.
Please charge.
Personally, I hate this feature, but I guess it's there to help you prolong the life of your battery. Now, when it comes to audio quality, as the name implies, these speakers are going to put an emphasis on the bass. Sony's extra bass speaker lineup is meant for people like me who listen to a lot of rap, hip-hop, R&B, EDM, and so on. But if you're someone who listens to rock or anything that puts an emphasis on vocals and mids, then you're going to think these speakers sound muddy. Sony's new speaker lineup sounds very similar to their previous lineup, but if you're trying to decide between the XB21, XB31, and XB41, obviously the larger the speaker, the louder and more bass you're going to get. But for personal listening, the XB31 gets the job done just fine. But if you want something a little bit more epic, then the XB41 is a genuine step up. Believe it or not, I actually think the older XB20 still sounds better than the XB21. Even though I like a lot of bass when I listen to music, it can get overwhelming when listening to podcasts. Sony's new speaker lineup doesn't have a dedicated extra bass button like their previous lineup, but you can turn off the extra bass feature on either of the new speakers by pressing and holding the play and minus button at the same time until the indicator light turns green. And to turn the extra bass feature back on, you just press and hold the same buttons again until the light turns white. All three of these speakers also connects to Sony's Music Center app. Now, let me be the first to tell you that I love the hardware, but the app can be a pain in the butt sometimes. But when it does work, you can turn on live sound, which sounds much better on the XB31 than it does on the XB41, or you can also just adjust the EQ of either of these speakers to better suit the type of music you're going to listen to. But if you use your own EQ, then you're going to get a bit of distortion at higher volumes. But since I just use these speakers with the extra bass feature turned on and with Clear Audio Plus enabled, I don't get too much distortion. Sony's Music Center app also allows you to select from a few different lighting modes on these speakers. There's Rave, Chill, or Rave mode without the annoying strobe lights off to the sides on the XB31 and XB41, and Strobe. The new light features on the XB41 and XB31 have been improved from their previous generations, but I feel the light feature on the XB21 doesn't look nearly as good as the XB20's. The light feature setups on the XB41 and XB31s are also very similar, but the XB41 has the additional backlit speakers in the center. The XB41 also connects to Sony's Fiesta app, which is an eyesore, but you do get some customization options on the XB41, while the XB31 doesn't connect to the Fiesta app. Finally, let's talk about connectivity. All three of these speakers are good for about 50 plus feet, and in general, I haven't had any connection issues, period. What I do want to talk about is pairing and syncing these speakers. First, yes, these newer speakers can connect to the older speakers, but only in sync. Anything from the XB20 all the way up to the XB90. And Sony allows you to connect up to 100 Sony speakers together, just like JBL does. But if you want to get left and right stereo sound going, you need to have two of the same speakers. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get the XB40 and XB41 to play in stereo mode, and the same goes for the XB21 and XB31 pairs. Also, Sony's syncing process of these speakers isn't as easy and the connection quality isn't as good as JBL's. If you want to learn how to pair these speakers up, then just watch my tutorial. Pairing multiple Sony speakers can sometimes be a hair-pulling process because you have to press certain buttons in a certain order, and you also have to use the mobile app to establish the party chain. With JBL speakers, you literally just press one button on each speaker and they'll figure out the rest by themselves. JBL's audio is also much more in sync. With the Sonys, you might get some echo going, but it'll go away after a while. Personally, I really do think these new Sony speakers are great, but if you plan on constantly chaining multiple speakers together, I would look into JBL instead. Now, this isn't a full review on either of these speakers. I'm just trying to give you a quick rundown of what's new in Sony's new speaker lineup. If you want to learn more about either of these speakers, then watch their full reviews. Personally, if I were looking into Sony's new speaker lineup, I would skip the XB21 and go for the XB31. I just don't think you can go wrong with the XB31, but if you want something with a little better battery life, something that gets louder with more wall-shaking bass, and something that looks a little cooler, then I would pick up the XB41. I feel the XB41 is worth the upgrade this time around. Personally, going forward, I would like to see Sony improve their software. I would like to see them start using a USB-C port, allow you to cycle through the different light modes directly from the speakers, and I would like to start seeing quick charging make an appearance on either Sony or JBL speakers. Like, just stop jamming voice assistants everywhere and get me some quick charging. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit that like button and get subscribed. It helps out more than you realize. Support the channel by clicking on the links down below, and I'll catch you next time.